The greatest lie you have been told about conflict is that the one who shouts the loudest is the one who wins. We are conditioned by society, media, and our own fragile egos to believe that defending ourselves requires a grand, dramatic confrontation. We falsely believe that if we just explain our pain articulately enough, if we expose the manipulator's lies directly to their face, or if we match their aggression with our own rage, we will somehow achieve victory and force them into submission. But in the realm of dark psychology, a loud counterattack is never a victory. It is a surrender. When you scream at a narcissist, when you send them long, exhausted paragraphs of anger, or when you desperately try to tear down their reputation in a public fit of rage, you are doing exactly what they want. You are handing them the exact currency they need to survive: your raw, unfiltered emotional energy. You are proving to them that they possess the power to completely destabilize your reality. Worse, you are giving them the perfect ammunition to flip the script, play the victim, and paint you to the rest of the world as the unstable, irrational aggressor. They set a trap, and your ego walked right into it. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that true, absolute power is never loud. Power does not need to scream to be felt, and it does not need to announce its presence to be effective. The Machiavellian mind operates on a terrifyingly cold and mathematical frequency. Why waste your energy wrestling with a predator in the mud when you can simply quietly shut off their oxygen supply? This is the architecture of the silent counterattack. It is the most sophisticated, devastating, and unanswerable strategy in the Machiavellian playbook. To execute it, you must achieve the absolute suppression of your ego and the complete extraction of your emotions from the battlefield. You do not attack the manipulator directly, you do not argue with them, you do not threaten them, and you never, under any circumstances, tell them what you are about to do. Instead, you smile, you nod, you maintain your absolute composure, and you quietly begin to dismantle the very infrastructure that gives them leverage over you. A manipulator's power is entirely conditional. It is not real. It relies entirely on your dependence, your fear, your reaction, and your predictability. They only have power because you inadvertently handed them the keys to your emotional state, your resources, or your reputation. The silent counterattack is the methodical process of secretly changing the locks while the predator still believes they own the building. Imagine the profound existential terror a toxic person feels when they confidently pull the string that has always made you dance. And suddenly, they realize the string is not attached to anything. They did not hear you cut it. They did not see you walk away. You did not give them a warning. They simply woke up one day to find that their leverage was gone. Their words had zero impact, and their psychological kingdom was completely empty. In this breakdown, we are going to explore the dark art of covert warfare. We will teach you how to look your enemy in the eye and smile while rendering them completely powerless behind the scenes. We will dissect how to accurately identify a manipulator's true leverage, how to invisibly sever their access to your life, and how to execute a countermove so quiet they will not even realize they have been defeated until the game is already over. The time for loud, exhausting, and useless arguments is finished. It is time to step out of the noise. It is time to learn how to destroy an opponent's agenda in absolute silence. The most dangerous animal in the jungle is not the one that roars. It is the one you do not even know is there. When you are targeted by a Machiavellian manipulator, a narcissist, or a highly toxic individual, Their primary objective is to keep you in a state of constant reaction. They feed on your resistance. Every time you push back, every time you argue, and every time you desperately try to defend your boundaries, you are giving them exactly what they want: proof that they are controlling your behavior. They study your resistance to learn exactly where your armor is weakest. To execute the silent counterattack, you must completely strip them of this data. You must master the first phase of covert warfare: the illusion of compliance. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must know how to play both the lion and the fox. The lion relies on brute strength, but the fox relies on cunning. It recognizes traps. When you are trapped in a dynamic with a psychological predator, playing the lion will only exhaust you. You cannot outroar someone who has no conscience. You must become the fox. You must learn the terrifying art of hiding in plain sight. The illusion of compliance is the calculated decision to intentionally lower your visible defenses. When the manipulator makes an unreasonable demand, drops a subtle insult, or tries to bait you into an emotional argument, you do not snap back. You do not scowl. You do not explain why they are wrong. You simply agree. You offer them a mild, unbothered nod. You say, "You might be right." You tell them, "I will take that into consideration." You give them the exact outward reaction of a defeated, compliant pawn. To the untrained eye, and especially to the inflated, arrogant ego of the narcissist, this looks like absolute surrender. They will believe that they have finally broken your spirit. They will believe that they have won. And in that exact moment of perceived victory, their vigilance will drop to zero. They will stop calculating. They will stop watching their own back because they believe you are entirely subjugated. This is the fatal flaw of the dark triad ego. Arrogance creates blindness. By feigning weakness, you are not actually surrendering, you are creating a smokescreen. Behind the mask of compliance, your mind is operating with cold, clinical precision. You are no longer wasting your energy fighting them on the surface. Instead, you are using the peace and quiet of their lowered guard to quietly map their entire infrastructure. You are observing where they get their power. You are identifying who their allies are. You are calculating exactly how much access they have to your finances, your reputation, your emotions, and your time. You are letting them talk, letting them boast, and letting them feel like the absolute master of the board, all while you silently maneuver your pieces into the perfect position for a checkmate they will never see coming. The illusion of compliance is the ultimate psychological trap. It requires an iron discipline to swallow your pride and let the predator believe they are smarter than you. But the Machiavellian mind does not care about the temporary sting of pride. Pride is for fools who want to win an argument. The strategist only cares about winning the war. Let them have the illusion of control. Let them enjoy the fantasy of your submission. Because while they are busy polishing their fake crown, you are quietly dismantling the very floor they are standing on. Behind the smokescreen of your compliance, the real work begins. To destroy a predator's agenda, you must first demystify their power. A manipulator wants you to believe their control over you is absolute, almost supernatural. They project an aura of omniscience, making you feel as though they hold all the cards and that any attempt to resist them will result in your total destruction. But the Machiavellian mind knows that power is never magic. Power is purely mechanical. It relies on a very specific, tangible point of leverage. In dark psychology, we call this point of leverage the anchor. An anchor is the exact mechanism that binds you to their abuse. It is the currency they use to buy your compliance. For some, the anchor is tangible. It might be your financial dependence on them, a shared business, or a social circle they threaten to turn against you if you fall out of line. For others, the anchor is entirely psychological. It is your desperate need for their validation, your guilt over a past mistake they refuse to let you forget, or your crippling fear of being abandoned. To execute the silent counterattack, you must identify your anchor with ruthless, clinical honesty. You must ask yourself the uncomfortable question: what exactly are they holding over my head? Because you are currently operating under the illusion of compliance, identifying the anchor becomes incredibly easy. You simply watch them. When a narcissist or a toxic individual feels their control slipping, or when they want to force you into submission, they do not act randomly. They instinctively reach for their most effective weapon. Watch what they threaten you with when they are angry. Do they subtly threaten to ruin your reputation at work? That means your fear of public opinion is the anchor. Do they threaten to leave you or give you the silent treatment? Your fear of isolation is the anchor. Do they constantly remind you of everything they have done for you? Your sense of obligation and guilt is the anchor. Every threat they make is a map pointing directly to the source of their power. By identifying the anchor, you strip the predator of their terrifying aura. You stop viewing them as an unstoppable force of nature, and you start viewing them as a simple, mechanical lock that can be picked. You transition from a state of emotional paralysis into a state of tactical auditing. You no longer ask the weak, useless question, "Why are they doing this to me?" Instead, you ask the cold, strategic question, "What exact resource do they control, and how do I devalue it to zero?" This is the essence of Machiavellian intelligence. You are mapping the battlefield. You are identifying the exact structural pillar that holds up their empire in your mind. You are calculating the exact weight of the chains they have placed on you. Because you cannot silently destroy a building if you do not know where the load-bearing walls are. The manipulator believes they are studying you, but in reality, you are dissecting them. You are locating the exact wire that needs to be cut, and once you find it, the silent execution can begin. Once you have identified the exact anchor the manipulator uses to control you, the natural human instinct is to attack it. The ego wants to break the chains loudly. It wants to look the narcissist in the eye and declare, "You do not control me anymore. I don't need your money. I don't need your validation, and I don't care about your threats." This is the most fatal mistake you can make. In dark psychology, a grand declaration of independence is not a victory. It is an early warning system. When you announce that you are breaking free, you trigger the predator's survival instinct. They immediately realize their leverage is failing, and they will retaliate with terrifying speed. They will smear your name, tighten their financial grip, or escalate their emotional abuse to critical levels before you are fully prepared to defend yourself. You have shown them your hand while they are still holding a loaded weapon. The Machiavellian mind never announces its departure. It executes the invisible cut. To destroy a toxic person's leverage, you do not pull the anchor out of the ground. You simply melt it down from the inside while they are looking the other way. Under the perfect cover of the illusion of compliance, you begin to systematically build your parallel infrastructure in the dark. If their leverage over you is financial or professional, you do not complain about your situation. You smile, you do your work, and in absolute silence, you build a new revenue stream, secure a new job offer, or open a private account they do not know exists. If their leverage is social, if they threaten to turn your friends or family against you, you do not argue with them about your reputation. You quietly begin networking outside of their sphere of influence. You build a new, impenetrable circle of allies who have no connection to the manipulator's toxic web. If their leverage is purely emotional, if they control you through guilt, fear of abandonment, or your desperate need for their approval, the invisible cut happens entirely inside your own mind. You stop looking at them as a source of validation. You mentally demote them from a figure of authority to a highly flawed, irrelevant pawn on the board. You grieve the illusion of who you thought they were, in secret. You do all of this without changing your outward behavior by a single degree. This is the terrifying brilliance of the silent counterattack. You are actively neutralizing the bomb, but you are leaving the digital timer running so the terrorist thinks they are still in control. You let them believe their currency is still highly valuable, while behind the scenes, you have already reduced its worth to absolute zero. When you build a bridge in the dark, you secure your escape route before the predator even realizes the prison door is unlocked. You have methodically removed every single piece of leverage they hold over you. Your finances are secure. Your reputation is protected in a new circle. Your emotional core is locked in an iron fortress. You have become a ghost in a machine they think they still own. The stage is now perfectly set. The anchor has been completely severed, but the manipulator does not know it yet. They are standing on a trap door, arrogant and utterly blind to the fact that you have already pulled the lever. The trap is fully constructed. The anchor has been completely severed. Your parallel infrastructure is secure. Now, the Machiavellian mind executes the most satisfying phase of the entire strategy: the controlled demolition. You do not initiate the final conflict. You do not march up to the narcissist or the toxic manipulator to announce your victory. You simply wait in the shadows. A predator's ego is a restless, hungry mechanism. It requires constant validation. Because they have been living under your illusion of compliance, their arrogance has reached its absolute peak. They believe you are entirely subjugated, and inevitably, their ego will demand that they test their power one more time. They will reach for the lever they believe controls your reality. They will make the grand threat. If you do not do exactly what I say, we are finished. If you challenge me, I will destroy your reputation. If you walk away, you will have absolutely nothing. In the past, this exact threat would have sent you into a spiral of panic, begging, and frantic compliance. It was the button that always worked. But this time, the button is not connected to anything. When they drop the ultimatum, you do not flinch. You do not argue. You do not explain to them that you have already secured a new job, a new social circle, or an impenetrable emotional fortress. You simply look at them with a cold, dead, completely unbothered stare, and you say a single word: okay. The psychological impact of this moment on a dark triad personality cannot be overstated. It is a catastrophic system failure. They pull the heavy lever of their ultimate leverage with all their might, expecting to hear you scream, and instead, the lever snaps off in their hands. They are suddenly holding a useless piece of metal. You do not gloat. You do not deliver a villainous monologue explaining how you outsmarted them. A true strategist knows that silence is infinitely more terrifying than an explanation. You let them drown in the sudden, suffocating realization that they have absolutely zero power over you. Watch their eyes. Watch the arrogance instantly shatter into sheer, unfiltered panic. Because they cannot process the reality of their defeat, they will immediately undergo an extinction burst. They will try to backpedal. They will suddenly offer fake affection, or they will escalate their rage to a fever pitch, desperately trying to find a new frequency that will make you react. They will swing wildly in the dark, but you are no longer there. You are a ghost. You watch their emotional tantrum with the clinical detachment of someone watching a building implode from a safe distance. You let them exhaust their energy. You let their own toxicity poison their remaining alliances, because their mask is now completely off and they are acting out of pure desperation. The controlled demolition is the ultimate victory. You did not have to fire a single shot. You did not have to compromise your dignity in a screaming match. You simply removed the foundation, stepped back, and let the predator defeat themselves with their own gravity. The true master of the Machiavellian arts knows that the most dangerous moment in any war is immediately after the victory. When you execute the silent counterattack and step seamlessly into your newly built reality, the manipulator is left standing in the ruins of their own illusion. You have stripped them of their leverage, bypassed their defenses, and completely neutralized their power without ever raising your voice. But a dark triad personality does not simply accept defeat. When a narcissist realizes they are fighting a ghost, their paranoia and rage will reach terrifying new heights. Because you did not give them a loud, messy breakup to use as ammunition, they have no narrative. They cannot play the victim because you did not attack them. You simply vanished. To cope with this massive ego injury, they will attempt to bait you back into the light. They will launch a frantic smear campaign. They will send flying monkeys, mutual acquaintances manipulated into checking up on you, to deliver messages designed to spark your anger or your guilt. They will try to provoke you into defending your reputation, because if you return to defend yourself, you are stepping back onto their chessboard. This is where you must invoke the final, unbreakable rule of the silent counterattack, the iron law of silence. You must remain a psychological phantom. When you hear the rumors they are spreading about you, you do not correct them. When they send a desperate, multi-paragraph text alternating between vicious insults and fake apologies, you do not reply. You do not block them in a fit of rage. That is a reaction. You simply archive the message, mute the notifications, and let their words drop into an absolute, bottomless void. A ghost does not explain itself to the living, and you no longer exist in their world. The greatest revenge in dark psychology is not destruction, it is total clinical irrelevance. By refusing to engage with their post-demolition tantrums, you are communicating the most devastating message a narcissist can ever receive. You do not matter enough to warrant a response. You let them scream in their own echo chamber. You let them poison their own well. Anyone who believes their desperate smear campaign is someone who was never truly allied with you anyway, and you have simply allowed the manipulator to take the trash out for you. The silent counterattack is not just a defensive maneuver. It is a complete psychological rebirth. You entered the dynamic as prey, conditioned to believe that you had to bleed your emotional energy to prove your worth. But you are leaving as a strategist. You have learned how to look at human behavior mathematically. You have learned how to control your ego, hide your intentions, and systematically dismantle a threat in absolute darkness. You no longer have to live in fear of toxic people, because you now possess the exact blueprint to render them completely powerless. The world is full of manipulators, narcissists, and psychological predators looking for an easy target. Let them look. Because when they look at you, they will find nothing but an iron fortress and a cold, unreadable smile. They will never see you coming, and they will never hear you leave. If you are ready to master the hidden architecture of human behavior and build an impenetrable psychological defense, subscribe to Mind Cipher. We will continue to deconstruct the shadow self, dark psychology, and the absolute laws of power. Stay silent, stay calculating, and never surrender the board.